Meet Will and Tom, two seemingly ordinary men, cursed with a gift of vast knowledge that is forever expanding. Possessing incredible insight with unparalleled skills and expertise. Let us join them as they embark on a journey to quench their thirst for the truth while answering the questions to life's most intriguing mysteries. Let us open our minds and ask, dude, could you imagine? Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Do not be afraid. You are not going crazy. You are in fact hearing my voice in your head. Everyone around the world is hearing my voice in their head. I am here to tell all of you something important. I need each and every one of you to listen carefully. And look in your couch cushions or under your couch for my remote. I have lost it somewhere and I cannot, for the life of me, find it. If you find it, please, welcome back, everybody. This is Thomas Case.
And this is William Stark.
William, we have a titillating question for you today.
Nice. I love it. Tell me. Titillate me, Tom. Oh, God, no.
This question hopefully will open up maybe a whole plethora of ideas in your brain here.
Did you write these words down? I feel like you're reading them off of a thing.
I know, right? No, actually, they're coming to me, right? You know, like it's my improv skills now coming into play. So, no, the question is, what if you could send a short message, but it'll be to the entire world? What would you say? And before we get into it, let me give you the parameters.
Yes, please, because, the parameters can change everything about this.
Yeah, so this isn't going to be through technology. This is going to be like imagine
dark sorceries.
Yeah, no, actually not through magic either. Imagine Professor X when he uses Cerebro, right?
Okay,
and he can connect to all the mutants around the world.
Okay.
But instead, it's going to be it's just everyone around the world, and they'll hear your voice, and whatever it is you need to say, they're going to hear it in their minds. And it'll be simultaneous. So everyone will hear it at the same time.
All right, how can you say this isn't magic? This is blatantly magic.
This is mutant powers.
Okay, what are mutant powers besides magic?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so I am psionically able to deliver a short message. How short?
Oh, okay. So it's going to be roughly a 1 minute message.
You can say a lot in a minute. Are you sure about that?
That is true. You may be able to say a lot, or you may not be able to get everything you want to say in there.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I wanted to give, I know I could have made it, 15 seconds, 30 seconds,
I thought that's what you were going to give me.
Yeah, but I think a minute should still pose somewhat of a
I appreciate your generosity.
Yeah. So I gave you that extra 30 seconds,
Yeah. So you said that they hear it in their mind. So it's very obvious that no one hears this voice out loud. They hear it in their mind as if it was their self narration, except for rather than their own voice, they would hear my voice. And for those people who don't hear a voice at all because they have alien human brains, they would hear just a mysterious voice.
Yeah, exactly. They would just be like, "What is this? I've never had any kind of a."
Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, some people may not even know that they're hearing it. You're right. They probably wouldn't think they're hearing it in their own heads if they've never been able to do that with their own voice. Okay. They would just think that they're hearing, that everyone could hear what they're hearing. You know what I mean? But no, in fact, nobody physically hears it outside of their own head.
Okay. And then what about language barriers?
Yeah, language barriers, all that will be taken care of. They understand no matter what language.
It's a universal translator. Gotcha.
Exactly. Even those who may have been born deaf, they will understand the meaning and whatever you're saying. Yeah, they'll understand.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting because what does someone who's born deaf, who's never heard language before, what do they hear? That's so interesting.
You know what I always thought, though? I don't know if they would hear anything. I would always thought they would visualize signs, like if they hopefully they learn sign language.
I mean, but in this case, like, are they going to just? I mean, maybe, I guess
that is true. You know what? Like,
so they have a visual hallucination.
I kind of gave it to you, like in this parameter. I kind of gave that to you, but let's take that back. Let's take it back for now, because that actually poses something really interesting. How would you reach someone who never heard, like, spoken language before?
Right.
That would be very difficult to get across.
Well, okay, if this ability is psionic and I have some sort of mechanism that's boosting the signal to everybody on Earth, I mean, I would imagine, I don't know this for sure, but I would wager that if I looked into it, this would be true, that when someone is speaking in American Sign Language and they are listening to someone else speak in American Sign Language, that even though it's their eyes that are picking up what is being said, it's still probably being processed in the same like communication center of their brain.
Oh, okay.
So I imagine the psionic ability would just stimulate the communication center of their brain. I don't know in what way, but like if we're gonna make this work, that's the best I can do.
Yeah, but but I see what you're saying. The understanding of what you're saying will still come across to them.
Yeah, it'll be more like it's kind of like the universal translators in Super Quest Saga, how it's like it's all about intent, the intent of what someone is trying to say, and then the translator sending that signal to the brain and processing it into a way the person will understand. Yeah,
okay. You say Super Quest Saga, I say Star Trek.
Does Star Trek have that too? Is it intent based?
Oh, Star Trek has I don't know if it's intent based, but Star Trek does have universal translators.
Yeah, but like how they work, because that's why I brought Super Quest Saga, because it's specifically intent based. Like,
I see.
Because all the different languages and whatnot, it almost doesn't make sense. Like, how would what about? Because I had to account for like what about languages that wouldn't be part of like maybe this thing's encyclopedia, if you will, of known languages. So to get around that, I was like, well, magic exists in this world, so what we'll do is it'll be based off an intent. So it'll be like a mixture between magic and technology, and the magic side is it's able to detect thoughts and then translate the intent of what you're saying, and then like what the other person hears isn't really important because that intent gets translated so that they can understand it in their brains.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know. Like, I'm actually glad you gave that whole explanation now, because that was actually really interesting on how that would work. And you're right, because like if it just didn't understand the language, you don't need to understand the language. You just need to understand what the intent behind it was.
Right. Exactly. So that was my hand wavy explanation, because I didn't have what was it? Because the main three characters, they come from a long lost time with those languages don't exist anymore. But anyways, back to your question. What the fuck? People aren't even going to believe. Like, here's the thing. Here's what I'm like, what do I do with this message? Because I guarantee you a huge portion of these people are just going to shrug their shoulders and pretend like it never happened, or forget it happened because they're going to think it was just some weird brain tick, or they won't want to admit it happened because they don't want people to think they're crazy. And then the ones that do,
I didn't think about that.
I bet you that the ones who do, I'm sure you're familiar with the game Telephone.
Oh, yes, that's true.
How many of these motherfuckers hear me wrong?
Oh, I did that.
Or they remember the wrong thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or,
they took away the wrong.
Yeah, or they add something that I didn't actually say.
Yeah, because if it's in their own mind, you know what I mean? Like, you're right. How long will it take them to remember what you said, talk to other people, you know what I mean? And then they're going to like just add in their own filler memories, right?
Exactly. And then like you would get like a weird crazed subset of like believers who would think this was like the voice of God. Next thing you know, some weird religion forms around it. And of course, I only had 60 seconds to give them a message. So like whatever weird religion or cult they form around it is going to be full of a bunch of information that I did not say, and I had no intent behind.
That's right.
And then next thing you know, we have crazy cult mass suicides, and what have I done?
Oh my God, you're right. How did this turn into like a simple question that, we could have connected the world, and now it's like mass suicides across the earth?
It could literally lead to the end of the world for all we know in the worst case scenario. This is where I think 60 seconds is almost too much, because it's like, if you do too much information, if you say something that isn't easily like memorable, catchy, like a singular phrase, it's bound to be misinterpreted, mistranslated, misremembered, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess, well, you don't have to use the whole 60 seconds, but I think 60 seconds would be like the maximum of what you could. Yeah.
Gotcha. My problem here is I just don't know what I should be aiming for. You know, it's like my instinct is like, well, I should try and say something that'll like, quote unquote, you know, inspire the most amount of like good to be done, right? But it's like, what do you say to people? Like, you can't get people to do the right thing no matter what. Like what on earth could I say? You know what I mean?
You know
go ahead.
Oh, real quick. I was just going to say, so interesting you brought that up because like what my first reaction to this question was, it was like, yes, I want to use this message to bring like the people together. And I don't mean like just some people. I wanted to somehow like bring together all the people of the world. And I was like, this message could do that because of the fact that it's reaching everyone.
Go ahead.
Okay. Like, because it's reaching everyone, right? But then you brought in the fact that, you know, if you are reaching all these people and there's some people that are either going to misunderstand, there's just too many people that have different points of views of what I may say. Yeah. And now I was going to say, now I'm afraid that if I try to send a message like that, it's just going to create a bunch of different factions of people who are then going to go to war with each other.
Oh, right. That's that's worst case scenario. And like, how many people do you know in real life who like, no matter how wrong they get proven or like how much their worldview gets challenged, they will twist whatever it is to favor their preconceived notions, no matter what.
Exactly.
Like that's like I would wager that like 50% of the people who take this message even remotely seriously are going to be like that. So here's an idea, because you were talking about bringing people together, and this made me think of The Watchmen. You've seen that movie, right?
Oh yeah, okay, The Watchmen.
So like, all right, spoilers for Watchmen. If you don't want spoilers for the very, very end of this movie, stop listening now. Come back later. You have been warned. So at the very end of Watchmen, when what's his name? Is it Ozymandias? He basically he defeats Dr. Manhattan on an intellectual level. Like he outthinks everybody, and he kind of sets Dr. Manhattan up to be like the quote unquote bad guy in the world's eyes, even though he didn't do anything wrong. But then he philosophically argues with Dr. Manhattan that it's better this way because with a common enemy of such a threat level as Dr. Manhattan, like nothing on Earth could drive the warring peoples of Earth together to work together than a common enemy especially one that could, you know, obliterate everybody in a blink of an eye.
Are you Dr. Manhattan is like Ozymandias?
Huh?
Are you about to become Ozymandias?
I mean, not really. I'm just about to fuck with everybody. But hey, you know, and then Dr. Manhattan is like, oh, I see. This is completely logical, and I will go along with it now. And then they have to kill Rorschach because he's like, this is bullshit, and I'm not going to fucking let it stand. I'm going to tell everybody. Anyways, that's a good movie.
Yeah. That was like exactly how the movie is.
Yeah, basically. Oh, and then the owl guy and the what's her name? Was it Miss Jupiter? Was that the girl's name?
Oh yeah.
Both of them just kind of shrug their shoulders and be like, "What else can we do?"
Yeah.
Anyways,
the
end. So, I mean, you could deliver a message like that, but the problem is with the parameters that have been set is like, I don't know if you could get enough people to believe, but like, I'm thinking like you would send a message that was something along the lines of, something to give off the impression that like this is like an advanced alien signal, right? From an advanced civilization saying that they are, returning to the planet that was once theirs. And if it is not, I don't know how you would say it, like, because basically I want to get the premise around of like, if it's not in as pristine condition as it was, you know, we will.
Oh, so the common goal
annihilate the trespasser. So like I want to try and get the goal to be like, oh shit, like when these aliens show up, they're going to kill us unless we like fucking clean up the earth and stop fucking killing each other and like figure out the population problem and like solve all the goddamn problems. You know what I mean?
That is smart. See, okay.
By the way, I do not think this would work because I just don't believe in humans to get their shit together enough.
But it's the best chance. I feel like, okay, see, I feel like, let's say if the parameters somehow were like, you know, who would give you out of you or me in this podcast gets this power? I would be like, give it to Will.
God.
Give it to Will.
The responsibility would crush me.
Can anybody hear me? Please hear me. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? If you can hear me, this is Fritz Frivolous. I need your help. I'm stuck. Somehow stuck inside the minds of Will and Tom. I need to escape. Please support them and their podcast. You can go to patreon.com/dudecouldyouimagine or leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Distract them long enough for me to break free. You can even leave a like, comment, or subscribe. Again, don't forget about me, Fritz Frivolous.
But I probably would have used it to be like, I've been trying to reach you to get about your extended warranty.
Well, see, okay, so before I had the alien idea from kind of what you were saying, I was kind of gonna logically lead to like, there's so little good that I could like discernibly achieve with this, without causing great evil, that I might as well just use it to fuck with people in a hilarious way. I was kind of gonna lean that way, but now I thought of like, no, I'll just scare the fucking shit out of everybody.
Which still, at least for us, knowing, you know, like what the message really, how it really came from, we would be laughing, but everyone else would be like, oh shit, we need to get our shit together.
Yeah, and the thing is, in all honesty, even this message could literally turn sour really fast, but the wrong people saying the wrong things, or the wrong people using this message for their own reasons and just fucking everything up. But theoretically, like you would have to make, you got 60 seconds, right? So you would have to make it convincing enough. And I don't know how you do that. Like if I had time to sit down and maybe write out a whole script and then run it by some people and then like really, really hammer out the details and like I would think like you'd want to say keywords that like stick out so that when other people say, dude, like I had this crazy thing happen to me and like this voice and it said yada, yada, yada. And they were like, oh my God, that happened to you too? Because keywords would really stick out, like a word that normal people wouldn't actually use in day-to-day conversations. Like,
because then that way when people do, you're right, when people do start talking and they find out everyone knows that one, like everyone has that same, it couldn't be faked. Right?
Yeah,
or it couldn't have just been in one crazy person's mind. Right?
Yeah. Oh, you know what you could do is if this was your goal, like you would write this awesome alien script, right? And try and make it as convincing as possible to make people stop, you know, polluting the earth and all this other shit. You can then, on your own, because no one will know it was you could go online ahead of time and start setting the groundwork for like a propaganda campaign. First off, you are the one who wrote the script. So like that's very easy for you to propagate the script out there so it can't get convoluted, right? If you're like making memes with the script and like, you know, spreading them everywhere on Twitter, on Facebook and getting them to catch on, and they will because everyone just heard this shit, so it's going to start catching on. Like you should be able to control the narrative and keep the message from at least in the beginning from veering away from its original meaning too far. Does that make sense?
I think I'm with you. You're saying like try to control the narrative, right? Of what you
so like
said to the whole world.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's less likely to be mistranslated by people who only heard it one time if, you know, the world doesn't know this, but since I am the source of the script, I have the script exactly verbatim written on my computer, right? So I can literally copy paste it everywhere online under a bunch of different accounts. You know what I mean? Like, so when people are talking about it, like I'm propagating the script so that people don't deviate and misremember, you know what I mean? And like, obviously so you won't be able to control it forever, but at least in the beginning, you can kind of set the groundwork so that like, you know, it doesn't deviate immediately.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. So you're trying to combat the whole, like the game you mentioned before, telephone. You're trying to combat, like, because obviously when people talk and it keeps getting spread from one person to another, it always changes a little bit.
Yeah, and we're talking about something that like
add stuff.
Yeah, and we're talking about something that like everyone's heard only one time. You know what I mean? But like it's just true. Like when you hear a song for the first time, you don't remember all the words necessarily.
Yeah, that is true. So, that's a very good idea. Yeah, you're right. You would want to start doing that like almost immediately right after.
Yeah. So like I think what I would try and the thing is like the message I would try and convey would be something along the lines of like really pushing for like the pristine beauty of the planet, right? Like and the biodiversity, which has already been so extremely fucked up. And to try and push, okay, like if the governments of the world were okay, there was literally an alien threat on all of our governments and all of our peoples, and maybe I give them a deadline of that our starships will be arriving in 50 years or something like that. I don't know. Is 50 too long? Should I say 20?
I was going to say maybe make it 2025.
The problem is then they won't arrive, and then what does that cause? So it's kind of a double-edged sword. All right, so we'll make it...
Well, if they don't arrive, you would really hope that all of the achievements that mankind had made in that time, and then the aliens don't arrive, they would still be like, well, at least we got a better planet now.
Right, you know right. You would hope, right? Yeah, so I'll go with 30 years. I'll go with 30 years.
Okay, 30 years. That sounds good.
And I'm hoping that this pushes like, the research and the motivation for everyone to switch over to renewable energies and moving away from reusable or for single use plastics, et cetera, et cetera. Like, and actually like taking care and into looking into what's killing huge swaths of environment and like stopping doing those things and coming up with alternatives. You know what I mean? Like the thing is there's solutions to all these problems. We just have like, unfortunately people aren't motivated to do them because they make too much money. And just like I said earlier, I would say a huge portion of the population of this planet, it will very easily just whatever information comes in, they will twist to fit their own narrative if it's easier for them to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid I don't have any specifics besides the fact that I would essentially use this message to pretend that I was a returning arbiter of this planet's well-being, and that we entrusted this planet to the species of humanity long, long ago before recorded history, and that we are in high hopes of the development of humankind, and that they have kept their promise of keeping a pristine world and blah, 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 blah. And then if they don't, unfortunately, annihilation is the only retribution.
Yeah.
So that's what I got.
There's only one thing that I could see that could horribly go wrong.
Yeah.
Is if the governments of the world, they did team up, but they said, forget about trying to clean up our planet. And they just went full force, double down on making the most destructive weapons that they could ever make in hopes of defeating this alien race that just threatened us.
Here's the thing. Like, I mean, I won't say that's not likely. I mean, I think that's not likely, actually.
Yeah.
But it's definitely possible. But the reason I don't think it's likely is because I would hope, because I know it'd be pretty well understood by pretty much all scientists and engineers on the planet, that like any species capable of interstellar travel on that level is so far advanced beyond anything that we're capable of that it would essentially be the equivalent. I'm sad to use this as an equivalent, but it's too perfect of a metaphor not to. We'd essentially be the natives of the many lands that got colonialized against the industrial complex of the colonizing nations. Like, it's just, you're just completely outgunned, outmanned, and outnumbered. Like, it's just no.
Watch. That's how we invent interstellar travel, so that we can go and fight them first. Like, we're not going to let them get a shot on us first.
They can't kill us if we leave.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
I'll tell you what, if we invent interstellar travel because of this message, then that also, great. Now we have way more resources. So like the fact that like that we're ruining this planet, at least we have enough time to maybe learn later.
Yeah, that's true. Man, you know what? See, this is the one dynamic of our podcast that I really enjoy is that like, and I know earlier you said like you weren't specific, but compared to me, Mr. Broadstrokes over here, like you were more specific than I would be because my answer, I didn't really have like your answer compared to what mine was going to be was actually it was more specific because I kind of had the same thought as you, but not with those, not with the ideas of how to implement it as you did. Like I knew I just wanted to get a message out there that would have a common goal for everyone to work towards. Cause I just wanted the goal of my message. I just wanted it to bring everyone on earth together, which I know sounds cliche. It sounds like I'm part of like, running for the Miss USA pageant or something, but like I want world peace, you know what I mean? Or something like that. Like, but man,
but that
you gotta
have a plan. You can't just say, be peaceful to each other.
Well, I know, yeah. Yeah, like Bill and Ted.
Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes!
Right?
Yeah, be excellent to each other.
Excellent to each other. Yeah, that's what I would do. You know what I mean? Because I didn't think of those plans because, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't pop into my head. But see, that's really good that you do have those plans. If any one of us were to get that power, I'm going to give it to you.
Well,
you better take that.
I would be very unhappy that you gave it to me. But
yeah,
because I even with my plan, I'd be like, okay, well, this is the best I can do. I hope it doesn't go bad.
Yeah, I know, right? But you know what? I'm really interested to know what our listeners would say. I really want to know, like, if they were given the chance to address the entire world with a 1-minute message, what would they say?
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know in the comments because I'm sure everyone would have a lot more interesting things to say than what I proposed.
But dude, could you imagine? I open my mind's eye and peer into the dimensions, looking for those who will speak or give noticeable mention, whether they be new or with us all along. Let me hear all the messages from beyond. And welcome to Messages from Beyond. So, Will, we actually had quite a few people hit up our YouTube on here. I'd like to read some of these.
Yeah.
So we had, let's see here, Darnell Hudson. He commented on Season 2, Episode 40, The Squilliam and Squam Show.
Oh my God, that episode.
He says, I feel like William has an advantage on this question because like all the intelligent monsters in D&D just want humanoid slaves.
Yeah, no, he's right. He's right. It's a very common theme in Dungeons and Dragons.
And then we have Estee, Eestee. They wrote about Season 2, Episode 39, 2 Birds, 1 Drone. They wrote, OMG, we just moved into a new house and in an area with more wildlife. I was thrilled with all the bird nests around my house until now. He said, guys, they're nesting above my front door, above my garage, and all around my backyard. Fuck, I think some shit is going to go down.
Oh no. They're definitely watching every move you make and every step you take.
Yeah, exactly. I really hope Esty is still around to hear the comment that we read.
Well, I'm pretty sure he is because I'm sure that when the birds strike, it will be simultaneously in all places on the globe because you can't do like I just don't think you'd be able to pull off, at least not long term, too many what's the word I'm looking for? Isolated strikes. Like eventually the rumors of the deadly robot birds is gonna get out. So it's like you want to hold that card up your sleeve. Like you said, they're waiting to push the big tweet.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sure so Esty's just fine. But you know what? You watch your back, Esty, because you never know.
Yeah, that's true. You never know, man. We also have one from Zachariah Scouten, and Zachariah wrote, for Season 2, Episode 41, I want to be a paperback writer. Zachariah says, I have actually started writing a story based on one of my old D&D characters. Problem is, it can never be published because I used elements from well-known works such as Naruto and the Aragon series.
Well, I mean, you don't know that for certain. It depends on what these elements are, and you can always, just like in Dungeons & Dragons, reflavor, homebrew, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of give it a twist and change it up just enough, because I mean, even the works that you just named, like, they take concepts and cliches from older works. Like most contemporary art, I mean, most art period is just copying our predecessors and changing it up a little bit. So, I mean, you never know. You could publish it possibly. Yeah. I mean, I would try and think of it from that angle. Maybe you change your mind.
Yeah, I would always think that's definitely worth a try. You know what I mean? Like, don't just quit because you think that you can't. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Like, you might have to rename some things, or like re-describe some things, or maybe like re-outfit the way something works a little bit, but you never know.
Yeah. And then even though I just read 2 of their comments, I wanted to actually get to these 2. It was from our one of our last episodes, season 2, episode 42, Johnny Tarnished and the Vanderlyn Gang.
That one released already? Okay.
Yeah. It would have by the time this one's going.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So SD writes, I'm playing a Star Trek game. As long as I don't beam in a red shirt, I should be fine.
Absolutely.
So I really like that because I'm a Star Trek fan. And I was like, oh, that's true. As long as you're not a red shirt, you're fine.
Yeah.
And then Zachariah Scouten, man, he is set when it comes to surviving 24 hours in the last video game because Zachariah wrote, Forza Horizon 5 for me. I'm set.
What is that?
I think Forza Horizon 5 is like a racing car game, like all the,
Okay,
cool,
but how set are you? Can you not crash and die in that game?
Oh, you know what? I've never played that, but
yeah,
I just assumed in my head, like,
even the best drivers make mistakes. Zacharias, you be careful out there.
I know. I just assumed he had the skills since he said, "I'm set." I'm
like, that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. But I really enjoyed reading all these, and we hope to hear from you in the future.
Indeed.
The podcast you have just heard are the imaginings from the highly evolved minds of the extra-dimensional beings, Will and Tom. It has been translated into a format more easily understood by the human mind. Interpret it as you will. Should you find yourself seeking more answers to life's most intriguing mysteries, you can show your support by becoming a Patreon member at patreon.com/dude-could-you-imagine. You can also leave an Apple Podcasts review. You can subscribe to us on Instagram at dude_could-you-imagine, on Twitter at DCYimagine, and on our YouTube channel, where you can leave a like and a comment. We can also be reached through our email, dudecouldyoimagine@gmail.com. We leave you now so that you may gather your thoughts, until we meet again, to ponder the meaning of the cosmos and ask, dude, could you imagine? Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
But I probably would have used it to be like, I've been trying to reach you to get about your extended warranty.
Well, see, okay, so